That day stands out as one of the most surreal and exciting days of my life, though it all started a few months prior. The house held a profound silence, the kind that seemed to seep into the very walls, enveloping everything in a heavy stillness. I had just returned from a grueling day at work, the kind where time stretches unbearably, and all you crave is the comfort of your bed. My feet ached, my mind was clouded, and the idea of sinking into my pillow was my sole motivation. I tossed my keys onto the kitchen counter and slipped off my shoes with a sigh of relief. As I walked down the hallway, a light peeking from under the guest room door stopped me. Uncle Mark. I'd forgotten he was staying with us. He'd mentioned possibly visiting earlier that week, but I hadn't anticipated him arriving today. My uncle was a wanderer, rarely staying in one place for long. He possessed a captivating charm, a quick smile, and a laugh that could fill any space. Despite being family, there was an undeniable magnetism about him that drew people's attention. Perhaps it was his confidence or the way he carried himself, but Uncle Mark had an undeniable presence. I hesitated in the hallway, unsure whether to knock or just head to bed. Curiosity won. The light wasn't bright, probably just a bedside lamp, suggesting he might be asleep. I decided to peek in, make sure everything was all right, and then quietly retreat to my room. I slowly pushed open the door, careful to avoid any noise. The soft creak of the hinges seemed amplified in the quiet house, but Uncle Mark didn't stir. I entered the room, the dim lamplight casting a warm glow, and found him sprawled on the bed, one arm draped across his chest. I froze, my heart pounding, my breath catching. His shirt was untucked, revealing a sliver of his toned stomach, and his jeans sat low on his hips. His hand rested casually on his thigh, and as my gaze dropped, my breath hitched. He was asleep, evident from the steady rise and fall of his chest, but his jeans were undone, the zipper partially down, and the top of his boxers visible. His shirt was open, exposing his collarbone, and then I noticed the distinct bulge against his boxers. I should have looked away, left the room, pretended I hadn't seen anything, but I was rooted to the spot. My heart raced, my mind filled with thoughts I didn't want to acknowledge. I had never seen my uncle this way, but suddenly I found him strikingly attractive. The casual vulnerability stirred something within me that I couldn't quite grasp, yet couldn't ignore. I moved closer, hesitantly. His face was turned to the side, serene, completely unaware of my presence. I swallowed, trying to steady my breathing, but the closer I got, the harder it was to ignore the pull I felt. What was I doing? A rational part of me screamed to stop, but it was drowned out by a strange mix of curiosity and desire. I'd never thought of Uncle Mark like this before. He was family. This felt wrong. Yet, the way the light played on his skin, the relaxed posture, made it impossible to look away. I knelt beside the bed, my hands trembling as I reached out, my fingertips lightly brushing his exposed stomach. The touch was feather-light, but it sent a jolt through me. I held my breath, expecting him to wake, but he remained still. Emboldened, I moved my hand higher, tracing my fingers toward his chest, feeling the warmth of his skin. My heart pounded so loudly in my ears that I could barely think. What was I doing? This was insane, but I couldn't stop. I didn't want to stop. I leaned in, his cologne filling the space between us, and studied his face, the strong jawline, the slight stubble. He looked so peaceful, completely unaware. Uncle Mark, I whispered, my voice barely audible. He didn't respond, his breathing steady, his lips slightly parted. I swallowed, my mouth dry, and before I could think, I pressed a soft kiss to his hand where my fingers had just been. His skin was warm, and the touch sent another shiver through me. My heart raced, my mind spinning. This was wrong, I knew, but I couldn't stop. My lips trailed up his arm, leaving soft kisses, each one bolder than the last. His skin was smooth and warm, and his cologne was intoxicating. My pulse quickened, heat rising in my chest as I leaned closer, my breath ghosting over his neck. He stirred, a soft murmur escaping his lips, and I froze, my heart leaping into my throat, terrified he would wake. Fear mingled with desire. My heart hammered against my ribs. He could wake any moment, find me like this, so close. Yet He just sighed, his body relaxing again. I exhaled, a shaky breath escaping my lips, relief washing over me. I should have stopped, left the room. But I couldn't. An overwhelming need had taken hold. That thought echoed, urging me away, but my body refused. I was too deep, too far gone to retreat. Every rational fiber screamed to flee, but something primal held me rooted. My fingers grazed his arm, tracing the toned muscle. His pulse thrummed beneath my touch, steady and strong, making my own heart race. He shifted, and my breath caught. Still asleep, hesitation wrestled with curiosity as my hand hovered above his chest. My thoughts were a chaotic mix of confusion and desire. This was wrong. So wrong. Yet, the pull between us was undeniable, even in his unconscious state. A soft sigh escaped him, his chest rising and falling in a slow rhythm. My eyes drifted down to the undone waistband of his jeans. Intentional or accidental slumber? Either way, the sight sent a rush of heat through me. Almost of their own accord, my fingers brushed the denim where the zipper lay half undone. Soft fabric, warm skin beneath. My heart pounded as I traced the edge of his jeans, just above his boxers. I glanced up, half expecting him to wake, to catch me, but he remained still, blissfully unaware. Yet his body responded, slight shifts, soft sounds, as if he knew, as if he were waiting. I leaned closer, my breath shallow, the room suddenly warmer, the air thick. I could barely think as my fingers brushed his boxers. Another hesitation, my mind screaming halt, my body ignoring. "Uncle Mark," I whispered, my voice lost in the quiet. He stirred, lips parting, but didn't wake. I swallowed, mouth dry, and carefully slipped my fingers beneath his waistband. His skin's heat sent a shiver through me. Breath hitched. This was wrong. So very wrong. But the way his body responded, the rhythm of his chest matching mine, made it impossible to stop. Something magnetic drew me closer, despite every instinct yelling for me to run. My hand lingered, feeling his warmth, his steady pulse. The closeness was intense. I knew I should pull away, but I couldn't. Fingers inched lower, brushing against the thin fabric of his boxers, barely hiding the hardness beneath. My heart raced, my mind a whirlwind. Before I could stop, I leaned down, pressing a soft kiss to the skin, just above the waistband. His scent filled me, cologne mixed with something familiar, warm, making my head spin. He stirred again, this time more noticeably, a low murmur escaping his lips. I froze, heart pounding. Was he waking? Would he see me? Panic flared, but before I could move, his hand brushed my arm, a light touch, sending a jolt through me. I stared, my breath shallow as his hand slid up to my shoulder, gentle yet firm. His eyes fluttered open, stomach dropping. Confusion clouded his gaze, as if piecing together the scene. Then his eyes locked on mine. "Eli," he murmured, voice rough with sleep, tinged with something darker, more dangerous. His hand cupped my neck, pulling me closer. "What are you doing?" I swallowed, throat tight, speechless. I was frozen, held captive by his gaze, his hand tightening slightly. My mind screamed to apologize, to leave, but I was trapped by his darkening eyes, focused on my hand still resting there. "Do you know what you're doing to me?" he whispered, voice low, dangerous. His hand moved my waist, grip firm, yet not forceful. Tension filled his voice, a mix of frustration and desire sending shivers down my spine. I stammered, face flushing. I should have pulled away, apologized, but the words wouldn't come. I was too close, too caught up to think clearly. His grip tightened, pulling me closer. "You don't have to stop," he murmured, voice soft but insistent. "If this is what you want, you don't have to stop." My heart leaped at his words. Conflict raged within, a mix of fear, desire, and confusion. I knew it was wrong, but the way he looked at me, the graze of his fingers, made rational thought impossible. "I don't know," I whispered, voice trembling. "I don't know what I want." His gaze softened slightly, but the tension remained. "I think you do," he said quietly, His hand cupped my cheek, thumb brushing lightly against my skin. You just need to let yourself feel it. His words echoed, scattering what little control I had left. I wasn't sure what I felt anymore. Desire, fear, something more complex. All I knew was I was frozen under his gaze. He stirred again, lips parting, but didn't wake. I swallowed, letting my fingers slip beneath his waistband. His skin's heat shivered through me, breath catching, wrong, but his body's reaction, his chest rising and falling in time with mine, made it impossible to stop. A magnetic pull drew me closer, despite every instinct yelling to run. My hand lingered, feeling his warmth, pulse thrumming. The closeness intensified. I knew I should pull away, but I couldn't. Fingers inched lower, brushing against the thin fabric, revealing the hardness beneath. Heart raced, mind a whirlwind. But before I could stop myself, I leaned down, pressing a soft kiss to the bare skin above his waistband. His scent, a mix of cologne and something warm, familiar, made my head spin. He stirred again, more noticeably, a low murmur escaping his lips. I froze, heart pounding. He was going to wake, see me. Panic flared, but before I could pull away, his hand brushed my arm, sending a jolt through me. Staring, breath shallow, his hand slid to my shoulder, gentle yet firm. His eyes fluttered open. Stomach dropped. Confusion, then recognition. "A lie," he murmured, voice rough, tinged with something darker. His hand cupped my neck, pulling me closer. "What are you doing?" Swallowing hard. Throat tight, I couldn't speak. Frozen by his gaze, his hand tightening. Mine screaming to apologize, leave, but I was trapped, his darkening eyes on my hand. "Do you know what you're doing to me?" he whispered, voice low, dangerous. His hand moved to my waist, grip firm. Tension, frustration, desire sent shivers. I stammered, face flushed. I should have pulled away, apologized, but the words wouldn't come. Too close, too caught up. His grip tightened, pulling me closer. "You don't have to stop," he murmured, soft but insistent. "If this is what you want, you don't have to stop." My heart leaped. Conflict overwhelmed me. Fear, desire, confusion. I knew it was wrong, but the way he looked at me, the graze of his fingers, made rational thought impossible. "I don't know," I whispered, trembling. "I don't know what I want." His gaze softened, but the tension remained. "I think you do," he said quietly, hand on my cheek, thumb brushing my skin. "You just need to let yourself feel it." His words echoed, scattering any control. Was it desire, fear, something more? I was frozen under his gaze. He stirred but didn't wake. I let my fingers slip beneath his waistband. His skin's heat shivered through me. Wrong, but his body's reaction made stopping impossible. A magnetic pull drew me closer. My hand lingered, feeling his warm pulse, the intense closeness. I knew I should pull away, but I couldn't. Fingers inched lower against the thin fabric, barely hiding his hardness. Heart raced, mind a whirlwind. Before I could stop, I leaned down, pressing a soft kiss to his skin. His scent made my head spin. He stirred again, more noticeably. I froze, heart pounding. He was going to wake. Panic flared, but before I could pull away, his hand brushed my arm, sending a jolt. Staring, breath shallow, his hand slid to my shoulder, gentle yet firm. His eyes fluttered open, confusion, then recognition. "A lie," he murmured, voice rough, tinged with something darker. His hand cupped my neck, pulling me closer. "What are you doing?" Swallowing hard, throat tight, I couldn't speak. Frozen by his gaze, his hand tightening. Mine screaming to apologize, leave, but I was trapped, his darkening eyes on my hand. "Do you know what you're doing to me?" he whispered, voice low, dangerous. His hand moved to my waist, grip firm. Tension, frustration, desire sent shivers. I stammered, face flushed. I should have pulled away, apologized, but the words wouldn't come. Too close, too caught up. His grip tightened, pulling me closer. "You don't have to stop," he murmured, soft but insistent. "If this is what you want, you don't have to stop." My heart leaped. Conflict overwhelmed me. fear, desire, confusion. I knew it was wrong, but the way he looked at me, the graze of his fingers, made rational thought impossible. I don't know, I whispered. A soft kiss landed on the bare skin above his waistband. His scent, a faint mix of cologne and something warmly familiar, made my head spin. That's when it began. After a few seconds, he stirred, shifting more noticeably beneath me, a low murmur escaping his lips. I froze, my heart pounding, fearing he'd wake and see me. Panic flared, but before I could pull away, his hand moved, fingers brushing my arm with a light touch that sent a jolt of electricity through me. I stared, my breath coming in shallow bursts, as his hand slid up to my shoulder, touched gentle yet firm. His eyes fluttered open and my stomach dropped. A brief moment of confusion crossed his gaze. Then his eyes locked onto mine and I saw the shift. "Eli," he murmured, his voice rough with sleep, but tinged with something darker, more dangerous. His hand cupped the back of my neck, pulling me closer. "What are you doing?" I swallowed hard, my throat tight, unable to speak, frozen by the intensity of his gaze and the slight tightening of his hand on my skin. My mind screamed to apologize, to leave, but I was trapped, held captive by his darkening eyes as they flicked down to where my hand still rested. "Do you know what you're doing to me?" he whispered, his voice low and dangerous, his hand sliding to my waist, grip firm but not forceful. Tension filled his voice, a mix of frustration and desire that sent shivers down my spine. I stammered, face flushing. I should have pulled away, apologized, but the words wouldn't come. I was too close, too caught up in the moment to think clearly. His grip on my waist tightened, pulling me closer until our bodies almost touched. "You don't have to stop," he murmured, his voice soft but insistent. "If this is what you want, you don't have to stop." My heart leaped at his words, the conflict inside me overwhelming, a mix of fear, desire, and confusion. I knew it was wrong, knew we shouldn't be doing this, but the way he looked at me, the way his fingers grazed my skin, made rational thought impossible. I swallowed hard, my eyes flicking up to meet his. "I don't know," I whispered, my voice trembling. "I don't know what I want." His gaze softened slightly, but the tension remained. "I think you do," he said quietly, his hand sliding up to cup my cheek, his thumb brushing lightly against my skin. "You just need to let yourself feel it." His words echoed, scattering any control I had left. I wasn't sure what I felt anymore. Desire, fear, something more complex. All I knew was I couldn't move, frozen under his gaze. His hand lingered on my cheek, his thumb tracing a slow path over my skin, igniting every nerve. I wanted to pull away, to say something to break the tension, but nothing came. I sat there, breath shallow, heart racing, waiting for him to make the next move. His other hand slid down from my waist to my thigh, fingers brushing lightly against the fabric of my pants. The touch was soft, tentative, yet it sent a surge of heat through me. I bit my lip, trying to hold back the flood of emotions. His eyes never left mine, the intensity growing. "Eli," he whispered, his voice a low murmur. "You don't have to be afraid." I swallowed hard, throat tight. Afraid didn't begin to describe it. Fear was there, but so was something else, something I didn't want to admit. I was drawn to him, to the way his hands felt, the way he looked at me as if I were the only thing that mattered. It was intoxicating, dangerous, and impossible to resist. "I don't know what to do," I whispered, voice barely audible, the words inadequate to express the turmoil. His hand slid up the back of my neck, pulling me closer, his breath warm against my skin. "You don't have to do anything," he whispered, his lips brushing my ear. "Just let me take care of you." My heart skipped a beat. I thought of pulling away, ending it. But before I could decide, his hand slipped higher, grazing my face, tilting my head toward him. His lips were so close, a breath away, and I could feel the heat radiating from him, pulling me in. I closed my eyes, heart pounding. I knew it was wrong, but the desire was too strong. I felt the warmth of his breath against my lips, and the world faded away, leaving only us in this dangerous, inevitable moment. I leaned in. The kiss was soft at first, tentative, but it didn't stay that way. Something shifted, something dark and consuming. His hand tightened on my neck, and the kiss deepened, his lips moving against mine with a hunger that took me by surprise. I gasped softly, hands clutching his shirt as he pulled me closer, his body warm and solid. The kiss was all-consuming, overwhelming, the tension building like a fire spreading out of control. My mind screamed to stop, but my body had other ideas. His hands were everywhere, on my waist, back, arms, his touch sending sparks of heat. I felt the hardness of his body, and my pulse quickened, desire impossible to ignore. "Lie," he whispered against my lips, his voice rough with need. "I've wanted this for so long." His words sent a shiver down my spine. He had wanted this. The thought was dizzying. He had wanted me, and now he wasn't going to stop unless I asked. But I didn't want to stop. I leaned into the kiss, my hand sliding up his shoulders, pulling him closer. I felt the tension in his body, the way his muscles tensed, making my desire flare hotter. His lips moved against mine with urgency, like he'd been holding back. Now, there was no going back. His hand slid down to my hips, gripping me tightly as he pulled me onto the bed. It was quick, seamless, and suddenly I was lying next to him, his body pressed against mine, the heat building. He kissed me again, harder, his hands roaming over my body. Hunger made my head spin, my heart pounded, and my mind raced with uncontrollable thoughts and emotions. This was real, and despite the wrongness, the irreversible line we crossed, I didn't want it to stop. "Tell me you want this," Uncle Mark whispered against my lips, his hand sliding under my shirt, fingers lightly brushing my skin. I swallowed hard, breath catching, as his hand moved higher, tracing my chest. Did I want this? My body did, undeniably responding to his touch and kisses. Yet, inner conflict raged, guilt, fear, desire. In that moment, only his gaze, his touch sending shivers, his voice making my heart leap mattered. Uncle Mark groaned, his grip tightening as he kissed me, his mouth trailing down my neck. It was too much, too fast, but I arched into him, lost in the moment past the point of return. The room felt warmer, heavy with unspoken words and cross lines. His hands moved over me urgently, as if long awaited. His body pressed against mine, his warmth enveloping me, and despite the turmoil, my body responded to every touch. His heated kisses trailed down my neck, sending shivers. I gasped, fingers digging into his shoulders, trying to ground myself, but it was no use. The sensation of his lips, his hands exploring, overwhelmed me. "Uncle Mark," I whispered, voice trembling, as his hand slid under my shirt. Pushing it up, his touch burned my skin, my heart raced. He pulled back, lifted my shirt, his eyes darkening as he looked at me intensely. "You're perfect," he murmured, his voice raw, primal, making my pulse quicken. His hand moved to my waist, fingers brushing my bare skin, and I shuddered. His gaze, his touch, made me feel savored, long desired. It was too much, too intense, yet I couldn't stop. He kissed me again, a hungry, demanding kiss that mirrored my own need. My hands tangled his hair, pulling him closer. His body pressed against mine, the heat between us intensifying. I felt his hardness, his desire matching mine. "Tell me you want this," he whispered, his voice a low growl, his hand sliding to my waistband. I gasped, "Did I want this?" My body screamed yes, but my mind was confused. He was my uncle, yet his touch, his lips made it impossible to think clearly. "I want you," I whispered, the words escaping before I could stop them. My hands roamed his back, feeling the taut muscles. We were caught in a storm, unable to stop. My breath hitched. I arched into him, craving more. I couldn't think, breathe, only feel. His touch, intensified, waves of pleasure coursing through me. "Uncle Mark," I whispered, voice trembling. He kissed me again, hungrily, and I responded with equal fervor, pulling him closer. The heat was unbearable, the tension suffocating. But I needed this, needed him. "I've wanted this for so long," he murmured, his words sending shivers. He had wanted me. The thought made my pulse race, the desire flaring hotter. My mind was a blur, my body trembling. Then, a sound from outside the door shattered the moment. We froze. What was that? I whispered, heart pounding. The fire in his eyes was replaced by something darker. I don't know. The silence suffocated us. The reality crashed down. This was wrong. Now, someone might know. Fear and guilt filled the room. We remained frozen, listening. Maybe it was nothing, but the thought shattered the moment. "We can't do this," he muttered, looking conflicted. "This is wrong." His words hit hard. "I'm sorry," I whispered, trembling. "No, it's not your fault," he said, frustrated. "It's mine." He shook his head, regret in his eyes. The intimacy vanished, replaced by guilt and confusion. I pulled my shirt back on, hands trembling. "Maybe we should just forget this ever happened," I whispered. "Yeah," he muttered, unconvincingly. We both knew that was impossible. "I should go," I said, throat tight. "Yeah," he said softly. I hesitated at the door. "Uncle Mark," I whispered, "do you regret it?" He looked at me, a mix of emotions in his eyes. "I don't know," he said, his voice heavy. I nodded, understanding. I opened the door and left. The next few days were a blur. I avoided him, but I missed him. I knew it was wrong, but I missed the closeness. But we had to move on, pretend it never happened. He left without saying goodbye. The house felt empty. I wondered if things would ever be normal again. Maybe not. But for now, I had to try to forget, even if I didn't want to. He turned, his expression unreadable. For a moment, I thought he'd stop me, but he simply nodded. "Yeah," he murmured, barely audible. "Maybe that's a good idea." I couldn't speak. My heart raced, my mind spun. I needed to escape his gaze, the weight of our actions. I reached the door, hand on the knob, and paused. "Uncle Mark," I whispered, glancing back. "Do you regret it?" His eyes flickered with guilt, confusion, and something else I couldn't define. He hesitated, then sighed, shoulders slumping. "I don't know," he admitted, regret thick in his voice. "I don't know what to think." I nodded, understanding. I felt equally lost. Everything was too complex. I opened the door, stepping into the hallway. The weight of what had transpired pressed down on me, a heavy burden. We couldn't ignore it, couldn't pretend it hadn't happened. But for now, we had to. The next few days blurred. I avoided him, seeking refuge outside or in my room, grappling with the emotional turmoil. Guilt and shame washed over me. But beneath it was something I didn't want to acknowledge. I missed him. Despite knowing it was wrong, despite knowing we couldn't be together, I missed the connection we'd shared. It wasn't just physical. It was something deeper, beyond the kiss, beyond the touch. We'd opened a door neither of us knew existed, and now it was impossible to close. Still, I knew we couldn't go back. We had to move on, for our family, for ourselves. Days later, Uncle Mark left without a word. I heard the door close, his car starting and driving away. It was a quiet departure, fitting. There was nothing left to say. The house felt empty, the silence suffocating. I sat on the couch, staring at his vacant spot, wondering if things would ever be normal. Maybe not. Maybe that night had changed everything. But for now, I had to try to forget, even if I didn't want to.